हेलो गाइस, व्हाट्सअप, सब बढ़िया, एवरीथिंग गुड। ठीक है। पिछले वीडियो में हमने बात की थी अबाउट द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट permeability, और वी बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड वेरियस reservoir engineering concepts. So while I went with permeability, I thought I would rather talk about something which is very important when we discuss permeability. Okay, we want to know where the permeability came into existence. What was the evolution of permeability? Who is the man behind permeability? Basically, it's not like some people are still discussing this fact, some people are still talking about it. Some people say that permeability was a term coined into reservoir engineering by an empirical relation. What's an empirical relation? It's a relation which is as a result of a laboratory experiment, particularly to that laboratory experiment. Some people say that permeability is a result of, you can correlate this with the fluid flow, fluid dynamics with respect to pipelines and all. So there is still a discussion going on about this, and we don't have to worry much about this, but we will talk about the textbook case when actually the textbook refers how permeability came into existence. The Newton for our case, the giant scientist in our reservoir engineering practice was Mr. Henry Darcy. He did the Darcy's experiment to develop the intuition behind permeability. What he did was very simple and very easy to understand. What he did was he had a iron tube, okay, a cylinder in which there were two permeable membranes, in the middle of which he put sand, okay, unconsolidated sand, and this was called sand pack. Okay, so it's porous, you can imagine it. It's like something you take off from your backyard and from your garden, and you put it into this experiment, and some fluids can flow through this, because this I've shown as slotted, so it means that the membranes are permeable. Okay, the fluid can flow through it. So what he did was, he let the fluid flow at a flow rate of q centimeter cube per second, okay, as a part of his experiment, and the setup was somewhat like, at the top end was an attached manometer. What's a manometer? So some pressure will be applied over here, so the fluid inside the manometer will rise up to a particular height, and we measure the height from a particular datum. The datum is nothing but the common reference depth that we take for this experiment. So when fluid will flow, this point, this depth will, this layer or this height will experience some pressure which will be counted by the manometric height, which is noted by H1. Okay, and the other end will also feel the pressure which may be different, will feel some other pressure which is calculated in the similar manner using the manometric height H2, right? So and then since the fluid is flowing, some fluid will flow out of this pipeline and will get collected into the water. The fluid he used was water without any variation. Darcy's experiments were constructed in water, so not much was being talked about the properties of fluids. Okay, you must be thinking I'm coming to the Darcy's law, but it is coming to a very simplistic version of Darcy's law that you will read in the future, right? You are reading about the evolution, the birth of Darcy's law, right? So this is the setup. So fluid is flowing at a flow rate of q centimeters cube per second, and at the two ends of the sand pack or the rock, you can imagine this is the rock, and the differential head of the manometer is H1 minus H2. So what he observed was that the flow rate, he measured the flow rate of the fluid that was flowing through it. Okay, so he observed that he conducted the experiments for different cases, and he measured the delta H for each of these cases. What he observed was the flow rate was proportional, the velocity of the flow was proportional. This is the velocity of the flow. It was proportional to the H1 minus H2. Okay, so this is the practice that he came, the conclusion that he came to, and this was the Darcy's conclusion about the sand pack experiment. He further developed this constraint, and he came to the formula. This is capital K, H1 minus H2 upon L. What is L? L is the length of the sand pack. This is L in the direction of flow. So this is the direction of flow, guys, right? So this is the Darcy's primary, or the the toddler formula that he came up with, the first form of Darcy's law. And this, in this, u is the flow velocity, which is in centimeters per second, not cube. It's not flow rate. H is the manometric height, water equivalent, assuming that maybe manometers are also filled with water. So H is also in centimeters. We're talking units in this case, right? And L is also in centimeter, right? So L is also centimeter, and you can see that K is basically a proportionality constant. One more thing you can think is that this proportionality can be thought of as U is proportional to H1 minus H2 per unit length of the sent pack. Okay, so you are saying that the flow velocity is inversely proportional to the length, or the the lengthiness, और कितना लंबा है आपका sent pack, उस पे inversely proportional, क्योंकि जितना ज़्यादा लंबा है the flow will experience more resistance, basically, very basic speaking. So the velocity of the flow will reduce more and more. So that is my intuition for it. So higher the length, the flow velocity will be lower, but higher the flow velocity, and this is directly proportional, which we already discussed. So this is how you can also imagine that K is a constant, proportionality constant, right? So we're not saying, like you must have thought, I also thought that K is permeability, but it's not. Right now you cannot even see the viscosity term. So it's not the Darcy's law that you know. We are talking about a single fluid and a single simple case example. So K is the proportionality constant for now. All that you have to remember is this, right? So Darcy actually used, so he concluded that for any flow rate, the velocity of flow is directly proportional to the difference in the manometric heights. I'm reading my notes over here. So this is what I already said, okay? Darcy used different kinds of material for the sent pack, okay? Now this is an interesting part. Now for example, Darcy used some other kind of material, okay? Let's say this is the material, okay? A mixture of some 2, 3, 4 kinds of sands. Now Darcy conducted the same experiment for different kind of material, or different kind of rocks, or different kind of sent packs, and he observed that the permeability, or the constant, this thing that he calculated for all of these cases was different. So you are already developing an intuition how Darcy must have thought about permeability as a rock property, okay? So why did he think permeability is a rock property? Is because he actually varied these guys, okay, these grains, these sand packs, and he calculated the constant, the proportionality constant for this flow equation for each of these cases, and he found out that as you are changing the rock samples, you are experiencing different values of K. So that is when you realize that permeability is a rock property, right? So now all experiments were with water. So basically Darcy right now, if I'm Darcy, I'm not talking about any fluid properties, right? So all the experiments are talking about water. We are keeping water as constant. We are not changing the fluids. So we are not talking about the correlation of this thing with the fluid properties per se, right? So basically right now, Darcy's law is limited to whatever you are seeing on board, okay? So this is our case 1. Now, we'll move forward and talk about what variations people did to the Darcy's law that we know, right? The first variation that even you must be thinking about, and what people actually did, was tilted the sandbag, okay? They tilted with respect to vertical. Why just keep it like this? Why not tilt it like this? So let's see what we have in store for that thing. You can pause the video and move forward or think about things that I'm talking. So this is the diagram that I'm drawing for a tilted sand pack or a tilted rock case. Again, the assembly is same. I have a sand pack. placed in the middle of a permeable set of membranes, right? Okay, nice. So now I have a inlet and an outlet. I also have my manometers placed. This is one manometer, this is another manometer, and these are called J-tube manometers, right? And I have a datum. Let's say this is my datum. Datum is when the depth you are considering is 0 and above it is positive Z. Z is basically for the distance or the height from my datum, right? So this is my datum, right? And every position will be like, for example, you take the origin and then you measure the x coordinates and the y. So for this case, I'm taking this as my datum, and yeah. So this is my send back length L. Okay. So basically, again, I'm doing the same thing. I'm pushing fluids in at q centimeters cube per second, and I'm letting the fluid flow, and I'm observing the Darcy's, the same thing. I'm observing the relation between the flow velocity and the delta H. Okay. So when people tilted the send pack at various angles with the vertical, okay, initially it was vertical and they tilted it at various angles with the vertical, the observation was that the delta H remained the same or remained constant no matter what the theta was, no matter what the orientation was. Okay. So it's a nice practice to think about. So basically, if this is the height up to which it rises, and this is, so the delta H for both of these manometers was the same, okay, for every orientation basically. So for a given rock sample, if you have a particular orientation, you tilt the rock with respect to various angles, the angle, the delta H that you will measure will be same no matter what the orientation is. All right. So this is one conclusion. Okay. Now we'll try to develop a relationship that brings Z into picture. Okay. So let's say this is the center of the particular rock sample, and the height of this from the datum is Z. Okay. Now we'll try to develop an equation that takes this Z into picture, because this is basically telling you the position of the tilted bed with respect to the datum, right? So you need to encounter, or you need to consider the tilt of the bed as well. So we'll try to develop an equation. So basically, let's say this is air. So we start from here. Okay. So this is the H. Let's say this is the H. Okay, and this is somewhat like, this is the H is basically the manometric height of the first end from the datum, and H2, let's say, is the manometric height for the second case, and this is the delta H, let's say. So this is from where I start. So the pressure at this is what, rho GH, and if you are trying to calculate the pressure at this point, you can come downwards and then you can go upwards, right? Because that's how you calculate pressure. So basically, the pressure at this point, the pressure at this point is, I come down from zero pressure, I come down 0 plus rho GH. I'm not changing my fluid, I'm just saying that rho is, the fluid that I'm using is water, but let's not say water, we say that the fluid has a density rho, and I go up. So the up is Z, rho GZ. So basically the pressure at this point is P equals to rho G H minus Z. Okay, so this is the pressure at any point Z, at a height Z from the datum of the tilted bed. Okay, so this is a generalized value for pressure. Now I'll try to, this is basically a mathematical derivation for the tilted bed case. Now I try to shift the cases. So it comes P by rho, I take rho over here, and then plus GZ equals to GH, right? So this is my first equation. Okay. Now from the Darcy's law, I remember U equals to K times dH by dL, right? H1 minus H2 by L1 minus L2. So basically I can write it as a, differential form. So from this formula I can calculate dH by dl, right? I take G over here, so I can calculate dH by dl. Okay, so the dH by dl is H equals to P by rho G plus Z, right? So dH by dl is equals to d by dl of P by rho G plus Z, right? Now I'll put this thing into this equation. So my Darcy's law comes out to be K times this thing, d by dl of P by rho G plus Z. Okay. Now I'll try to take the G outside. It's optional, but just for the sake of one definition, I'm trying to take the G outside. So K by G, d by dl, P by rho plus GZ, right? So basically this is all in SI units, because you are seeing no conversion constants, and that is the property of SI units. You never need a conversion constant. Okay, so this term, why I kept it in this way is because this term is called the fluid potential. It has the unit of force per unit mass multiplied by distance. Okay, so this term is very important. In the numerical section, the videos that you must be watching, I've heard that none of you have practiced that question. Please go and practice the numerical part, because 1 or 1.2 hours video has been released on this topic. So I have discussed the basics for this. You can try and convert this thing into the field units, and you have the good practice. You have 4 to 5 questions waiting for you just for this formula. So please go and practice and try to contact Hemant sir and try to discuss the questions over here and try to develop an intuition what this is trying to say. You must have a clear understanding of what fluid potential is. Basically, if you try